Joining me now to discuss all this is former Inspector General for the Department of Transportation, Mary Schiavo. She's also a lawyer representing victims in aviation-related lawsuits. She's in Charleston. And back with me tonight is Michael Goldfarb, the former Chief of Staff for the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. Welcome to you both. Michael, let me start with you, and I just got to ask, air traffic controllers falling asleep at the switch, errors up 50%, the first lady's plane of all planes just about in a dangerous situation, almost a tragic one. Is this emblematic of what's going on up there in the skies? And as the old question is, how scared should we be?
Well, Elliot, it remains the safest system in the world, but that does little justice to the kinds of problems we're seeing. The system's under enormous stress. The controllers are fatigued. There's not enough bench strength. They don't have the reserves to fully staff the towers. So what we're seeing is the normal symptoms of somebody under enormous stress. The somebody happens to be the entire air traffic control system.
You know, let me turn to Mary, but, you know, Michael, not to quibble with you, I love everything you say, but it's not as though there's not just a bench that's lacking. We're putting only 8 guys in the field when you're supposed to have 9, or, in a baseball metaphor, it's baseball season. Mary, tell me, you were the IG for this system. Are things getting worse right now based on everything you're seeing and hearing?
Well, yes, they are for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is this problem has been brewing for a very long time, and the FAA has not taken strong action where there are problems. For example, the sleeping controllers, that was around when I was Inspector General in the 90s. We addressed those issues, but the FAA didn't react, and it took the Secretary of Transportation and some very serious incidents, including with the First Lady's plane, to get action. It shouldn't have come to this, but it's been a long time coming to this.
But look, I just got to raise this issue because I know there's a debate going back and forth about whether air traffic controllers should nap on the job. Now, look, I don't mean to be simplistic about this, but I've been a boss in a whole lot of different contexts. I've never been a boss in a situation where if I saw somebody sleeping, I'd say that's a good thing. What is the possible rationale for saying that these air traffic controllers should take naps during their shifts? Michael, why don't you head into this one?
Absolutely. Sorry, Mary. Absolutely, Elliot. I mean, operational people working the midnight shifts, all the scientists, all the researchers agree. It's a very difficult shift to stay awake. Remember now, we're not talking about someone coming for an 8-hour shift and taking a nap. We're talking about controllers that have backlogs. They've worked 3 to 4 days. They're coming in many times to a dark radar room after midnight. Not a lot of traffic. They can't listen to music. They can't play DVDs, except for the case of the Cleveland controller.
Yeah, I hear they're watching movies. That's the problem.
Right. Many probably are. And the only thing they're allowed to do, if there's not air traffic coming in, is to read the FAA policy manual. That alone would put you to sleep.
Yeah, well, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
So in effect, many countries, Nav Canada has 10-hour shifts. They have 2 controllers after midnight. They encourage napping. Eurocontrol, all the European nations, Australia, because everybody has come to realize that sleep enables safety as opposed to takes away from safety.
All right, Michael, I hear the logic of it. I still don't quite have my arms around the notion that we want these guys sleeping on the job, but it sounds to me as though what you're really saying is that it's because of the backlog, the sequence of 10-hour, 12-hour shifts back-to-back, compressing their work week. It sounds to me like the real problem is the one we said at the top of the show, not enough controllers to create a schedule that is optimal for safety. Mary, is that really what we got here?
Well, partially. That is certainly one concern, and we're still 30-some years later since the 1982 firing of the PATCO controllers when they went on strike. We had to go through a period of time where most of those, or not all of them, but a number of them retired a couple years ago. That started a trend as well, and we had to replace those. But the FAA also allowed controllers to command their own schedules, and so they could have 4-day work weeks instead of 5-day work weeks. And they had this thing called the Rattler schedule, where they would schedule 4 days of regular work and then their 5th day right after their 4th day schedule, so they'd have back-to-back schedules, and that was allowed. Secretary LaHood said no more of that last week.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Controllers were some of their own problems.
Mary, can I interrupt you? Why was it called the Rattler schedule?
Because it comes back to bite you.
All right, and which is exactly what we're seeing right now. And if this is the rattlesnake metaphor, you're going to do something that seems good in the short term. You know, who wouldn't want a 4-day work week, and then you get a 3-day weekend every week? But hey, guys, if safety's on the line, we shouldn't be doing that. Michael, you agree with that?
Yeah, but we're in the weeds here. We're not dealing with the larger issue.
Which is what?
I don't think we almost have a rule. It's almost a rule du jour. Every day there's another reaction. Today, I mean, most people would have thought that there's not that many presidential, vice presidential flights. Most people would have thought that an air traffic control supervisor would have an eye on a controller guiding that flight. So we're changing the rules. We're talking about no sleeping. It doesn't deal with the heart of the problem. You said it, Elliot. The heart of the problem is there are not enough controllers. There's a backlog of trainees, and they can't staff the critical facilities. So all the sleeping, all the fatigue, not to excuse it, but all of that's symptomatic of an agency playing catch-up from a decades-long problem. As Mary described, it's been going on for a long time, but I think it's coming to a head right now.
Look, it seems to me that, A, there's a need, based on what I've read about the FAA system, there's a need to implement a whole new technology, and that has not been funded, and so we're stuck with an old technology without the people to man the system, you know, or woman the system, whatever the gender term should be. But let's throw this out. I just saw that the House of Representatives, at least, cut $4 billion out of the FAA budget over 4 years. What will that cut do to the capacity to bring in the additional controllers that we need? Mary, is this going to have a real impact?
Yes, it is going to have a real impact. It's going to hurt. It's not going to show up this year because we're already foraging ahead into the budget. But what it's going to do is going to do two bad things. One, it's going to hurt our build-out of the next-gen air traffic control system. That system we must have. We're taking down the old system. It's not going to be finished as it is until 2020. It is a beautiful system. It has the potential to make mid-air collisions a thing of the past. But we have to have the funding to finish it. All aircraft in the system have to be equipped to be seen in the system. And we're going to need more controllers, not less, just because we have the new system, because we're going to have a 3.5 increase in traffic, in air traffic, every year until then. We're having very crowded skies.
Michael, you were the chief of staff for the FAA, so you were intimately involved in this budget. In 30 seconds, tell me, what would you see happening because of this budget cut that has just been voted by the House? It's not yet the final budget, obviously. You got to have the Senate and then the President, but what's going to happen?
It's a devastating budget cut, because anybody who works in an organization, what's the first thing you cut? Not the employees, you cut the training, you cut the human resources. So if we're talking about controller training and accelerating it, it cuts that. It cuts aviation safety inspectors. Imagine being on that Southwest jet. I wonder how many members of Congress who were on that plane would vote for less aviation safety inspectors? I don't think so. So it's a huge cut for the FAA to take at a critical time when we're trying to catch up to better fund air traffic control and better, you know, keep the skies safe.
Although, Michael, you know, on the other side of the ledger, you told us something important tonight. In their downtime between planes landing, they're supposed to read that FAA manual.
Yes.
That's all the training they need, obviously. So we're all set. I'm not worried about this at all. I'm going to go fly tomorrow just for fun. All right, Mary and Michael, thanks so much for being with us.